Board of Trustees of Harris County Department of Education now convened in the board meeting on Wednesday, January 24, 2018 in the boardroom at 6300 Irvington Boulevard at 1:07 p.m. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present in this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the department are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. Prior to this meeting, board members receive information related to items on today's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted where this meeting is permitted by sections 551.071 to 551.084, inclusive of the Texas Government Code. I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones are turned off or in silent mode. Thank you for taking the time to join us and for your interest in the Harris County Department of Education. We're going to start with the invocation. It's Alicia Gladney, she's from Research and Evaluation Institute. Welcome.
Dear Lord, we come to you today as servants of students and educators of Harris County who are from diverse cultures and have many strengths, weaknesses, and challenges. We seek your guidance and wisdom on how to multiply our talents and resources so we are better equipped to help them build on their strengths and overcome their challenges. Please help us to be good and faithful servants. Amen.
We're now going to have our Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag and the Texas flag led by Joyce Atkins, Center for Grants Development.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, we're going to do the public hearing on the annual financial management report for the fiscal year ending August 31st, 2017. Dr. Amesqua, you're on.
You have a copy of our annual financial management report, and you also have a copy of the presentation. And this is for fiscal year ending August 31st, 2017. Senate Bill 218 of the 77 legislature required that we have a public hearing on the annual financial management report. And the purpose of that rating is to ensure that entities are held accountable, provide performance and management of their financial resources, disclose quality information of local management, and encourage entities to manage their financial resources better. And so here's a little bit of the history behind that law, and it is embedded in Title 19 of the Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 109, under Budgeting, Accounting, and Auditing, Subchapter AA under Commissioner's Rules. The required financial disclosures that are in your book basically require us to provide the current superintendent contract, which is attached to your report. Also, the total of reimbursements for mileage, lodging, meals, transportation, conference fees, and compensation. And so the total of that was $84,420, and they are listed in page 5 of the report by board member and the superintendent. Compensation or fees received by superintendent, none. Gifts and valued of $250 or more, non-declared. Business transactions between HCDE and board member, again, non-declared. And summary as schedule of data submitted under solvency provisions are also included under Chapter 39. So we adapted our financial indicators. There are 15 of those that are required for all school districts. So we adopted 11 of them because 4 of them are not applicable to us. So 11 are being reported here and provided information on each one of those. The first indicator was the CAFR completed in a timely manner within the number of days allotted, and it was completed and submitted. In fact, later on today, you will see the January 24th will be the presentation to the Board of Trustees. Last year, in comparison, it was on January the 26th. Indicator number 2 was a non-modified opinion in the CAFR report identified. And yes, we have received a non-modified opinion for fiscal year 17, same as fiscal year 16, unmodified opinion for last year as the audit firm of Whitley Penn performed the audit. Indicator 2B, it's the CAFR did not disclose any instances of material weaknesses in our internal controls. The indicator was met. There were no disclosure of weaknesses on internal controls, both in this year and last year. Financial indicator number 3, was the department in compliance with its payment terms for all debt agreements in fiscal year end? The indicator was met. We were in compliance for both agreements in both fiscal years. Indicator number 4, did the department make timely payments to the teacher retirement system, the Workforce Commission, the Internal Revenue Service, and other governmental entities? Indicator was met. All payments were made on a timely basis for fiscal year 17 and 16 as well. Indicator number 5, was the total unrestricted net assets balance in the statement of net assets greater than 0? The indicator, yes. Unrestricted net position was $26,188,720 in comparison to a year ago of $20,804,496. Indicator number 6, were the number of days on cash on hand and current investments in the general fund sufficient to cover expenditures excluding facilities and construction? How many days of cash on hand do we have? We have 250 days, a little bit more than we had a year ago of 236 days. Indicator number 7, was the measure of current assets and current liabilities sufficient to cover short-term debt? Are we basically solvent on a short-term basis? And the ratio was over 10% between assets and liabilities. A little bit less than a year ago, but still on a positive note. Indicator number 8, was the ratio of long-term liabilities to total assets sufficient to support long-term solvency? Yes, the indicator was met, and the indicator is at 25% up from a year ago that we were at 23%. Indicator number 10, was the debt service coverage ratio sufficient to meet the required debt service? Again, it's a calculation to look at to make sure that we have enough reserves and enough payment budgeted so we can make our payments. And we're at 11% this year, and we're at 2.55 a year ago. Indicator number 11 was the administrative cost ratio, and the next few of them were not applicable to us. School districts are required to do this. 11 is not applicable to us. Number 12, do we have a 15% decline in students? Again, it's not applicable because our children, we do not have K-12 children that we report to TEA. Indicator number 13, against the PIMS data, we don't report PIMS to the state, therefore not applicable. Indicator number 14, was the auditor, did the external auditor indicate that it was free of any material non-compliance for grants, contracts, and loss related to local, state, and federal funds? We met the indicator. The audit report for single audit, which you will hear about later on today, did not identify any instances on material non-compliance for both current year and last year as well. And lastly, indicator number 15, again, not applicable. Did we not receive any foundation money? We don't receive foundation money on a traditional basis like school districts, so therefore it is not applicable. Again, this is a public hearing. It's just information for the public. Any questions that the public may have, and any questions that you may have regarding the report. You do have a copy of this report. We include the superintendent's contract attached to it, and then a copy of the report without the superintendent's contracts is posted on our website for the public. It can view the management report.
So, Dr. Mesqua, compared to, you know, I've been reading a lot of stuff in the newspaper about the insolvency and problems with HISD, and I just want to, you know, you're our guru in finance. We aren't anywhere near like that with HCDE, right?
No, we're in a positive reserve financial situation, and we'll have a strong fund balance and a strong assets and investments as well.
So I don't have to worry about picking up the newspaper and reading that we're $200 million in the hole, right?
No,
Okay, just make sure. Thank you.
just,
Just to also let you know, we have the auditors here, and I asked many of those questions already. Because I don't want to go to jail any more than you do.
Just want to congratulate you on
Thank you.
yet again receiving another highest recommendation on our audit report. When I first came here 5 years ago, you got this award. And I thought, oh, that's just great, you know, the first time. No, it was 5 years before that. So I think it's a really well-kept secret that you guys have just done stellar jobs
Thank
on
you.
this for a very long time, always receiving the highest rating. And I congratulate you and your staff.
thank you.
Is there anybody in the audience that has some questions they'd like to ask? Because this is a public hearing, so this is one of the few times I get to ask you, if you want to ask Dr. Abesco some questions.
And there are copies of the report at the entrance for any individual that wishes to have a copy. They're available at the entrance.
Okay. I have somebody back there. Now this, you know, this doesn't count your other part. This is separate, right?
This is separate. I appreciate that.
Okay.
So am I timed?
If you get too long-winded, I might tell you to sit down.
Just a quick question. On page 5, there's a gifts section where board members declared, and all board members did declare, that they received no gifts, and that their first-degree relatives received no gifts in the past year. Does that include the in-kind contribution for putting Ethel Wolf's name on the building?
For a trustee, that went to the department.
Sorry.
That was not given to a trustee, it was given to the department.
But a trustee's first-degree relative benefited from that gift or that decision, that action. So it should be declared.
I'll let our attorney answer that question.
That's a very good point. However, because with the gift section, and this portion is contemplating and including in Chapter 176 of the Local Government Code, gift is defined as something that's given directly to either the trustee or directly to that family member. So, for example, and there used to be a lot of exceptions. Now the only exception is food. So let's say a vendor or somebody who does business with the department took, I'm going to pick on Mr. Evans, took Mr. Evans to play golf, and that was $100 or more, then he would have to disclose that, and the vendor would have to disclose that as well. Or took his son to play golf, something like that. And so in this instance, because the gift was not directly to either Mr. Wolf or his deceased mother, it's my opinion that 176 was not triggered because the gift, the donation, was given directly to the department.
From the board.
No, from individuals was my understanding.
Well, there was a sign part. Sorry.
No, I might not have all the facts. My understanding was that it was from.
It was a combination of monies to install a sign and install a change sign, as well as a $5,000 contribution from friends and family and other folks to the department.
That's my understanding. So since it was to the department and not to an individual trustee or an individual's family member, it wouldn't be triggered by 176.
All right. Thank you for that clarification.
Trustee Dix?
I don't know that under the definition of gift, I don't know that you can legally give a gift to someone deceased. Because I think.
And that's another point, that the definition of family member, I believe, if not explicitly, implicitly at a minimum, understands that it's a living person who receives the gift and not a deceased individual.
But I think for the definition of gift, you have to, one part is someone freely giving something to somebody, and then the other part is someone freely accepting something.
I think that's right.
But I don't think someone can freely accept it if you're deceased.
Deceased, I agree.
Also would like
Love
to,
attorneys. Go ahead.
also would like to point out that this report is for the year ending August 31st, 2017. Any activity up to that day. I believe that activity happened in 17-18, which is after September 1. Should that be a required reporting, it would be in the 2018 report.
Thank you for that clarification. All right, does anybody else have any questions for Dr. Amesqua? Thank you, sir. Okay, we have some people who signed up as visitors. We have Thelma Salas. Thelma, thank you for coming. I have Megan Davis, Laura Litch, and Selena Miller.
Yeah, they just signed in. They're not.
But this was, no, visitors. These are visitors. These are people signed in as visitors, not people speaking. I didn't mean, it's okay. Yeah, say hi. Yeah, you don't have to talk to us yet, unless we call you. So we do have people now. We have 4 people who have signed up to address the board. Our first person would be Josh Wallenstein.
Thanks for welcoming me back. And thank you for your time again. I am Josh Wallenstein. I'm running for an at-large seat to be with you on the board. I'm running in the Democratic primary. I'm at joshwallenstein.com. 2 quick things. The first is, it is School Board Appreciation Month, so I'd like to join other voices, both downstairs and in general, in thanking you for your dedication to public service. So thank you all. Thing 2 is, let's make sure it's public service and not self-service. Your vote on naming a building after the trustee's own mother is an excellent and unfortunate example of the latter. I ask you again today to follow your own policies and ethical norms, revisit and change that vote, and take down that name. Now, you see me get excited, a little bit excited about self-dealing on your board, and that's not surprising because I'm a compliance attorney. You saw that about 5 minutes ago as well. It's not surprising I'm upset because you've been violating your own policies. And last year, after a particularly heated discussion, I was called an attack dog. And given that I'm a lawyer, it probably wasn't the worst thing I've been called, even that day. But you're right, I am an attack dog, and an attack dog defends the home against bad actors, and I'm defending the HCDE against some bad actors. That vote, ladies and gentlemen, is reprehensible and demonstrates a level of incompetence that gives the Texas legislature the ammunition it needs to shut you down. Is that your end game? Is that the goal? Well, I'll fight to keep this place going, and I'll fight against you if you try to undermine it. I am an attack dog. Thank you for the moniker. I will wear it with pride. And if you want to stop the barking, please follow your own policies and change your vote.
Okay, Richard Cantu.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Evans, board members, Superintendent Colbert. Thank you for this opportunity to address the board. My name is Richard Cantu, and I am also a candidate for position 3 on your board in the Democratic primary. It's good to have some qualified candidates running in the primaries. I think it's the first time we've had a contested primary, at least in a while. But it's I'm proud to be joining a good slate of candidates, and I'm glad there's a heightened interest in this board, considering some of the issues that have been across your table recently. But I just wanted to introduce myself today and let you know that I am a candidate for the board. You can read a little bit about me at richardcantu.org. And I just want to take a moment also in the spirit of Board Appreciation Month to thank you all for your service, and particularly Dr. Troutman and Trustee Lee Carter. I know you guys have decided to step down, and that's unfortunate. I thank you personally for your service, and all of you for your service. Sad to see you go. I know we'll enjoy your service as county clerk here in the near future. If elected, I look forward to serving in the capacity as a board member to support the superintendent and his staff in strengthening early childhood education, expanding after-school program activities and services. Do have some experience with CASE, having managed and developed and implemented programs, after-school programs for the city of Houston, for Baker Ripley, in past positions, management positions I've had. And I have taught GED and adult continuing education for Houston Community College, so I know how important the adult education services are to connect folks that need that connection to higher education or to more training for a better job, for a higher skilled job. And so I look forward to the opportunity to serve on this board. And again, thank you for the opportunity.
Jonathan Miller.
Hello, board. I'm going to keep it short this time and just say thank you so much for everything that you do. As I've been going around campaigning across the county, it's a little surprising as to how little people actually know about this department and how important it is. A lot of the programs people know about but don't know specifically that it comes from HCDE. And so I think it's very important that we educate them so they really do know. And for example, things that happen with HISD or the other ISDs, that there is a distinguishing factor between the two departments itself. So I just want to say thank you so much for everything that you do. This is an incredibly, tremendously important department to our county and to our kids. And if elected to County School Trustee, Position 6, Precinct 1, I'll be happy to join you and fight the good fight to keep this department alive and strong. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrea Duhan.
Hi. I just wanted to formally introduce myself. I'm Andrea Duhan, and I as well am running for the HCDE board for Precinct 3. My background is in finance, and am therefore running on a platform to ensure that the public funding that is used for the programs is used efficiently and effectively. I'm going to be fully supporting the public education programs that are enabled through HCDE, and I hope to be able to build a bridge of common sense for all of the board members who have different opinions and different ideologies. I look forward to the possibility of working with the board members next year, and you can find me at Vote Duhan on Facebook. Thank you.
All right, we have a reports and presentation section. We'll have our superintendent monthly report, James Colbert Jr.
Thank you, Chairman Evans. Once again, I'd like to call to the board and thank you for your service that you've given to HCDE. You don't get compensated much in the form of payment, but I just want you to know how important your position is in helping public education and others like you throughout the entire country. I can assure you that when I retire, I will not become a board member. So, I claim not to do that. I'll be done with public service, but it takes a special person who Dr. Troutman says never say never. It takes a special person who is not a professional educator to aspire to want to be a part of, the people who are in it to help the young people in our community. So thank you once again, and I hope you enjoy your umbrellas. A couple of things that I wanted to bring your attention to that are significant this week is on Saturday from 8:30 to 3:30 is our Early Childhood Winter Conference. That is a significant event for us. There's a tremendous amount of planning that goes to that. It will be held at the Kingdom Builder Center at 6011 West Orem in Houston. And it is a really tremendous event. I believe we get somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 participants from all over the state of Texas. It's amazing that people drive all the way down from Dallas. We have them from all over the entire state. And there's a number of breakout sessions with people who are just really fired up and enthusiastic about trying to assist our young people. Also this weekend, we have a recruitment event at HCDE for our Head Start program. As you know, our Head Start program always has issues with maintaining staffing because of the salaries that are associated with it. That's an ongoing problem that we'll need to sort out moving forward. We have many dedicated staff that help the little ones in Harris County, but because we don't pay real well, we have a lot of openings. And so we're doing a major recruitment fair at HCDE this weekend, looking for teachers, teacher assistants, and family service providers. Having said that, last week I had the opportunity to visit 5 or 6 of our Head Start campuses. Mr. Parker got a chance to chauffeur me around the county, and we could go and visit some of the little ones. And I just have to tell you, I'm impressed. And I'm very critical, and I have a critical eye. Not only do I love and I'm impressed with the kids, but the biggest thing that I was impressed with was the enthusiasm by which our center managers and our teachers at the schools take their position in their job, and how fired up they are about helping kids. We must remember that the kids who attend our pre-K, our Head Start programs, are kids that if Head Start didn't exist, they would most likely be sitting home doing nothing. And instead, I got a chance to sit on the floor with them and count eggs and add them together, and see kids try to sort through and write their name, learn the alphabet, count to 100. These are kids who would not be doing any of that until they reach kindergarten. And so not only is Head Start powerful to the little ones, but it's also helping young parents teach them how to be good parents. And I consider it a civil service. So I am a major advocate for our Head Start division. Vanita Peacock does an excellent job, and her people do a very good job. There's some issues that we need to look at with maybe some of our facilities, and I plan on taking our board on tours of some of these campuses. But the spirit and the culture and the climate of those campuses is excellent. Finally, this weekend is also the beginning of our midwinter conference. Texas every year has its largest conference of the year in Austin, and it's the TASA Midwinter Conference. There'll probably be well over 8,000 educators there. That conference goes all weekend through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Very prominent conference. We have a number of staff from HCDE that will be present there. I can assure you 98% of every school district will have a representative at that conference. And so it's very impactful, and it's an opportunity for even superintendents to get together and to collaborate and fellowship too. With that, that's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Annual update on the HCDE Center for Grants Development.
Open this for you. Can y'all hear me? Because you know I'm short. There we go. There we go. I think I got it. Is that better? Can y'all hear me? Awesome. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to kind of showcase for you the progress that we're making in the Center for Grants Development. So, I just wanted to, let me pull this out here, sorry. These are the areas that I'm going to cover, just from development staff to available CGD resources, because we have quite a few things that are available to our community. So if I could ask the staff to stand, please, so I can introduce them. Thank you. I have Joyce Akins, Charbon Pipkins, Dr. Vita Ella Avery, Crystal Johnson, and Martha Silva Froud, and they are vital to the work that we do for the organization, so thank you so much. I also want to highlight, because the work we do is in collaboration with many of the divisions here. Like this last year, we joined 7 divisions and the Education Foundation to submit 76 requests, and those are public and private grants. We served over 4,400 clients with shared funding research, grant writing training, proposal reviews, technical assistance. We do a lot of work with our community, including the 25 school districts and 45 plus charters. We share with them on a monthly basis varying funding opportunities, including classroom grants, teacher grants, scholarships. We try to make sure they're in the loop with us as it relates to those funding opportunities that are available for them. We also have, since 1998, 20 years now, I just realized that a few minutes ago, HCDE has been awarded over $500 million in public and private funding. I know. That's not just me and our division. We were involved in like $353 million of those applications, with $170 million of those being competitive grants. However, and many of the divisions have also, have worked on and like early childhood intervention and different adult education, have been able to acquire grant funding as well over the years, because this is a little bit prior to my time as well, because I've been here like 19 years now. But these funds have supported, in collaboration with school districts, nonprofit organizations, other educational entities. We've supported after-school, dropout recovery, early childhood intervention. We had a program for that for many years. Head Start, mentoring, district crisis planning. I start looking back and looking at all the initiatives that were supported by the funds that we've been able to bring into the organization, which supported our school districts, charter schools, other educational entities in the community. We've served over 400,000 through the funds that we've been able to leverage. Children, infants, youth, adults, as it relates to these dollars, and those are conservative numbers. I mean, if that kind of how I was able to calculate. So to me, that's like one of those benefits that HCD offers to the community, is that ability to leverage those resources, because we have the capacity through our business services, through the divisions that we have, with the ability and the capacity to administer grants. Not everyone is that grant ready as HCD is. We have that capacity, as has been evidenced by the ability to gain those dollars for our organization. So this just gives you like number and percents of requests by division for this past year. And we went from like 1 for research and evaluation. It ranges up to 18 for teaching and learning center. So we keep up with that kind of data, as well as the number of awards by division, so that we can kind of keep up with those divisions that are those grant ready, as well as those divisions that fit funders' needs as well, because we have to also keep that in consideration. These are just the highlighted awards for this past year. So you see they go from Case to Kids to Teaching and Learning Center. And you see it goes across the range of corporations, private foundations, government grants, local, state, and federal. So we have that ability as an organization to kind of have that kind of draw with the local community, as well as federal grants. As it relates to donations, this past year we received over 77,000 in donations, but as you'll note here, we had a decrease a little bit this year, but it's not unusual for our organization to kind of have some fluctuation as it relates to donations. The divisions themselves are the ones that generate these donations. We may help as well if someone contacts us for distribution across divisions, so we're able to pull in those dollars as well. Dollars, in-kind contributions, choice partners with the Food Expo. I mean, we just have some wonderful divisions that pull in that kind of, support and community investment in what HCD's doing. And this is some other highlights. Weekly notifications of funding opportunities. Talked about grant opportunities we send to school districts and charters. We provide quite a bit of that. We also are collaborative partners on other organizations' grants. We've been asked to participate on others' proposals. We support the community as well with workshops, training. So you'll see here we're also on boards, local, state or national boards, and provide support as it relates to our field, because in order to present as the experts in our field, we have to kind of know about that field. So we do quite a bit of work on that. We do have some funding trends as well that we are encountering, and I have these listed here. We're witnessing changes in processes within both public and private, and trying to adapt to that, and trying to make sure we're kind of meeting the needs for those funders as well. But we work at ways to kind of avoid those missed opportunities, analyze funding. We're working with divisions on a regular basis, working on master proposals, those type of things to prepare ourselves to be able to pursue those opportunities. The only other thing I kind of wanted to share with you, because as you go out there, you might want to let people know we have these various connections, resource connections for various grant opportunities. So you can go to our Pinterest board /grant info, and find all different types, foundations that support our greater Houston area. We post on a very regular basis of those funding opportunities, and anyone can access that information. To us, it didn't make sense for us to just be insular and not provide the research that we do to the outside community, our educational community. So we do that through our Pinterest boards, our Twitter accounts, our Facebook account, and various ones of us manage those. So that's all that I have. Do you have any questions? Yes.
Somebody's going to say to you.
Yes.
You and your staff, you guys are do an outstanding job for the department. You know, I've been around this department for, what, almost 12 years, I guess, overall. And I've seen all the things you guys do. And I know that, you know, a lot of people don't always appreciate that. Not only do you do all the research to write the grants, you get to talk to a lot of people, and if you get turned down, and probably you go back to your side, the thing that's really nice on that slide, it shows that you don't lose very often.
Well, it's always challenging, and we're always looking for others.
So, again, I appreciate you and your staff.
Thank you very much.
I want to echo that.
Oh, yes, sorry.
I just want to echo that, and you do a tremendous job, and thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Erica.
Erica?
Sorry, I had a question, so.
Yes.
Anyways, can you tell me a little bit if you've increased your partnership when working with our education foundation, or is that just folded into the numbers you
Actually,
report?
any grant that we submit that requires a 501c3, where Jimmy is, we work through Jimmy Wynn, through the Education Foundation. They provide us with the board list, all the information that we need. Yes, so we flow. So many of these proposals may flow through. If you see a foundation, like, you know, that we're applying to a foundation, we'll go through the Education Foundation. So we have a very close relationship with the Education Foundation. Yes, Dr. Trump.
One of the challenges you listed was the continued grant funding, federal grant funding. Are we the same? Have we been cut at all for our Head Start?
I think that there was some concern, as what I saw is if we had the spending where there wasn't going to be spending, then we would have an issue with that. I don't believe, as what I've seen, we haven't had cuts.
Okay, good.
Recently. Now, we did before, but
Right.
recently.
Thank you.
You just got one more thing.
Yes.
If anybody needs to know anything about what's happening in education in Harris County and Texas, you need to become Gayla's friend on Twitter, because she is a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we talk. I retweet hits, you know,
Yeah.
we share. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, annual update on HCDE Research and Evaluation Institute. Darlene Bro is the director. Hello.
All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Darlene Bro, and I have the honor of being the director of the Research and Evaluation Institute. And I would like to take a moment to introduce my staff. Most of them, we have a couple that's out, flew, and had a baby, so they get a pass. Thank you. And would you like for me to present today? Okay. The goal of the Research and Evaluation Institute is simply to substantiate and add value to the work that all of our departments, districts, and organizations do. What we know is that practice is just a good idea until it has been scientifically researched and proven to work. Why are we needed? Our children are worth it, and we can't afford not to invest our time, our resources, and research in our future. We must continue to research and document evidence-based practices that leads to closing the achievement gap. We support all of our divisions, districts, and organizations in evaluating effectiveness in their programs and providing them with evidence through the data that is, as well as thoughtful recommendations. So how do we do what we do? Well, we pull regional, local, and national data from sources such as NCES, the National Center for Educational Statistics, Texas Education Agency, and local school districts. We critically analyze and look for trends and gaps, and then we look at the story that the data tells us and create customized reports that are concise and understandable to the educational community. Our accountability arm serves our 21 divisions by reporting their service delivery, client satisfaction, outcomes, and financial effectiveness. Additionally, an annual service delivery report is produced which reports the number of school districts, entities, students, educators, and support clients that each division serves. We want you to know that our work is more than just about the numbers. What we do helps our divisions, such as Head Start, determine if a child is school ready and able to enter kindergarten at the expected level. Also, the level of parent satisfaction and the effectiveness of their Super Mentor program. Case for Kids is another program that we serve. We provide them with evaluation reports for their 21st Century Grant-supported programs, EcoBot, and Kids Day at Hobby Center. We also created, disseminated, and analyzed surveys which provide information for their reporting purposes. Another arm of our division is research, and a couple of our highlights of our work are white papers that we produced on promising practices of the recovery schools, response to intervention, an overview of best practices, and college and career readiness. And some of our work is available for your review, and it's also linked on our webpage. And so we collaborate with internal divisions to evaluate their work, which they provide to the district. And finally, one of our team members, Dr. Andreas Garcia, has been asked to collaborate with the State Board of Education Task Force on the development of the Mexican American Studies course. Now, if that's not enough, we also take on special projects when there is a need. We do quite a bit of collaboration with the Teaching and Learning Center, ECPA, Education Certification and Professional Advancement Department, and Choice Partners with their Food Expo. And this is where select students get to sample potential meal options and complete a survey, which ultimately helps determine choices for their nutritional programs. Finally, we have a wonderful opportunity to work with our Head Start program and 3 other grantees on their triennial community assessment. This extensive report is used by them in the completion of their grant proposal for future funding. Now, all of this work takes quite a bit of time. A total of over 10,000 project hours, with almost 9,000 hours being paid from the staff who's solely supported by our research and evaluation budget, and one of our team members is totally dedicated and supported by CASE. So as you can see, our research and special projects take up most of our time, with 22% of our time being spent on accountability. Along with accountability and research efforts, we collaborate with our grants department in writing grant proposals for organizations such as the Criminal Justice Division of the Office of the Governor, Houston Revision, Miniger, and Cedar Tree Foundation Citizen Science. We know that relationships are also important, so we continue to nurture and grow our relationships with other organizations through partnering and providing research services for their projects as well. We enjoy sharing the work that we do and have had the wonderful opportunity to present at several conferences such as TABSE, Texas Alliance for Black School Educators, and TASB, Texas Association of School Boards. So we are thrilled to know that our hard work and focus on customer service has paid off with a 98% satisfaction rating. All of that being said, we would be remiss if we did not consider the challenges that we have going forward. Education policy, practices, and initiatives change so rapidly that we must make sure that we stay on the forefront in our learning as well, so that we can provide timely data and reports that drive decision making. We must continue to make sure that we maintain the balance between internal and external needs, increase the utility of our accountability system so that the information can be used for program service improvements, and maintaining and expanding our external partnerships with are critical to increase our visibility within the educational research community. Lastly, the goal of the Research and Evaluation Institute is to continue to be the foundation in which the divisions of Harris County Department of Education and external organizations can count on to provide quality work while providing the research that will give flight to their new ideas, new projects, and new collaborations. Thank you. Thank you.
The report of the Feasibility Subcommittee, it's going to be our superintendent.
Thank you, Chairman Evans. Although we haven't had a feasibility subcommittee recently, today we did have a PFC meeting in reference to our AB West campus that we're developing. And just wanted to inform the board that we looked at some preliminary floor plans. We did have Mr. Wolf that was in attendance in that meeting. Mr. Sumners couldn't be here today. But the floor plans consisted of a lot of input from the staff, specifically the administration at our AB West. And right now it's looking excellent. I think it will be certainly one of the highlights of HCDE once we complete this building. I'll say this also, that this is a school that's unique and not like any other school that I've seen before. It's not a conventional school. This is a school that's completely designed around the type of students who will attend it. And these are all special needs students, some that are severe and profound disabilities, some have mental, emotional disabilities. And this is a school that's going to be structured and designed specifically around to bring the maximum benefit and service to those students. We're also very happy that we're cooperating with A-Leaf ISD because that's where it's going to be located. And there are plans for both myself and A-Leaf Superintendent to do community presentations once we get some elevations of the building, so we can make sure that the community knows that this is something that's going to have excellent curb appeal for their ISD. Outside of that, there's nothing else to report at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, other reports from board members concerning attendance or participation in a board or HCD-related conference, event, activity, or committee, accolades for an HCD staff member or other deserving person. Well, I know I'd like to at least say thank you for the department for having the reception we had today. It was very nice. You know, it was, as Dr. Troutman and I were talking about, there's going to be three of us, Dr. Troutman, Erica Lee Carter, and myself. For sure won't be back next January, so this will be the last one. If Michael gets elected, he won't be back either. So you could be looking at only 2 people who will be returning next year. So you'll have a brand new board going forward. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for the appreciation. I apologize for missing this year's reception, but I feel when I talk to you generally, staff and educators that I meet throughout our department, I always feel the appreciation, and I appreciate you. I would like to say I had the pleasure yesterday in being Cashmere High School, where they were dedicating their renovation and giving greetings to the outgoing and incoming Houston ISD board presidents on our behalf, and they're well aware of our work and that we might be doing more with CASE in that area. And I was also glad to represent us at the Greater Houston Black Chamber Leadership Institute, a lot of young men and women hoping to get more involved in our community. And they had a lot of questions about education, so I tried to clarify our work and take the positive and not the blame for things that we aren't in charge of. So, but they were glad to hear from all of us.
Thank you. Okay, monthly financial reports through 12/31/17. Jesus Amesqua, you're up. Well, you just clear a room out, didn't you? Yeah, don't those people report to you? No.
These are the financial highlights as of January 24th, and this is the interim report for as of December 31st, 2017, and the budget amendment report. Before I start with our presentation, I would like to brag a little bit and present to you, and I'm going to ask the assistance of Mr. Monroe and Ms. Torres to present to you an award that it's in your places. We received notification from the Controller's Office that we received our third transparency start regarding contracts and procurement and debt obligations. Last month,
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again? I didn't hear it real well.
Transparency start over contracts and procurement.
So you did good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, and debt obligations. And then last month, we had it on the traditional finances, so you see those here, and I'm gonna ask them to present them to the superintendent and the board president so you can see. This is, and I'd like to identify some statistics that I also provided to you in a separate handout. There are 117 in the, agencies that receive this award, and there are over 1,350 special districts, over 1,100 school districts, and individuals that have received 3 stars are only 12 in the state. So we're atop the top 10% in the state. In terms of special...
Hold, we'll slow down. So how many total school districts did you say?
There are, we're in the category of special districts.
Okay.
There's 10 that have received the award. Mm-hmm. In existence, there are 1,350 special districts in Texas.
And so we're one of 10
that have received it.
Out of 1,350.
350.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so, and that's for transparency once again?
Right.
So if anyone were to ever think that we weren't transparent, we could show them one of these fine awards that we have.
Yes.
To enlighten them, huh?
Yes, we have 3 areas and criteria that we had to meet in order for the Controller's Office to award this star.
And just for clarification, because I know there's a number of things you're trying to say, one of these stars we've gotten multiple years.
Yes, since
this
the
is
inception.
The first year we've gotten the other 2 stars.
Right. This
correct?
Is the first year we have 3 because they changed the program over the years. It used to be called the Circle of Excellence Award, and then you could get a gold star, and then you get a platinum. We've been getting it ever since the program got started, and this year they expanded the requirements, and we met the 3 stars. There are other 2 stars for which we're not applicable to because we don't manage a pension, and we don't do economic development activity like a city or a county would in the traditional sense. So 3 stars is about what we're going to be able to be eligible for. So there are school districts in Texas. There's only 3 school districts, independent ISD, that receive 3 stars. There's only a total of 7 cities that have received 5 stars, but they are cities. They're different than us. But in terms of school districts or special districts, it's only 12. So we're among one of those. So our communication department, we worked with them and we created. If I can basically show you where the web page is at, so you can see where the 3 categories are, and we'll be posting a part of that in our. Okay, I don't see our homepage, but oh, here it is. Transparency. And so we have 3 stars. The other 2 we're not going to be eligible for, and so you will see where we'll be eligible or we'll be providing all the information regarding the financials and all the information that is required. Summary data our financial reports, our annual reports, our CAFR, our annual financial management report that we just presented, our annual budget going back several years. There's a categories that require the information that you place on the website so that the public can see all the data that is posted on there. Now, one of the things that we've added in the contracts and debt obligations is, charts that give you over time what our debt has been, and then in procurement, the amount of contracts and the procurement that we've had over the years. So we're excited about that, and the Controller's Office will monitor that we continue to update those on a monthly basis. So having said that, I'll go into now the actual report. Thank you. Our balance sheet as of December 31st, we have $32,387,086, liabilities of $2,431,106, and equity, including appropriated amounts of $32,387,086. Our fund balance, non-expendable in total at this time is $29,588,490. Later on in a final presentation, the auditors will present the annual report, which will amend and adjust our ending fund balance. Every month we do financial ratios and benchmarks. And so we have a percent to fund balance and general fund expenditures. We're at 102 versus 93. Working capital ratio, we're at 30 million versus 25 million. Unassigned fund balance ratio, we're at 45%, where we were at 68% a year ago at this time. Debt to income ratio at 0%. We have not made any payments this year so far. Our tax revenue to tax revenue ratio, we're at 27%, up from a year ago at 9% at this time. Indirect cost ratio, we're at 1% versus 3% of a year ago. We'll get more grants later on in the year, so you will see that move up. Our fee-for-service ratio, it's holding on strong at 36%, up from 24% as of this time last year. Fee-for-service growth ratio, we're at a negative 5% versus 7% a year ago. We're more flat at this time. We'll end up to be 5% at the end of the year, but early in the year we're down a little bit because, and primarily, some of the impact of the Harvey, some of the workshops that were realized early on. Our budgeted activity, our revenues, we're at overall are 28% in the general fund, and the fourth month out of the year should be at 33%, so we're already at the 20% overall. And in the total budget, we're at 102 million in terms of our revenue adopted and 118 in terms of our appropriations. Expenditures, we're at 26%. Which are below the 33% in terms of the general fund expenditures year to date. Donations year to date, we are at 48,465, and primarily they came from sponsorships through Choice Partners and also AB East and West and Case for Kids. Our property values, they are holding up at 434 billion, and we only have 4.6 billion left to be certified, and that would give us approximately $170,000 more in revenue at the end of the year. Year to date, we've collected 5.2 million, and we've paid 174,000 to the appraisal district and the tax office as of December of 2017. Our total disbursements for the month of December were 3,819,519, 511 checks, 427 transactions, and 6 transfers. Our segment data, we have educational certification of minus 59,443, records management at plus 32,104, school-based therapy at minus 746,424, and schools at minus 266,309. Choice is at 42% ratio, or 607,351 profit for the year. We are special revenues amendments, 241,753, and these are primarily transfers of roll forward of funds from one grant to the next that were not spent last year, and so they're being rolled forward into the new year. And then there's also some decreases in case partnership and also Fund 288 to reduce some of the expenditures because they were already used in the previous year. In terms of construction update, we have no activity as of this time. We had a PFC meeting earlier today, and we have no expenditures in construction at this time. However, our total amount available in construction are $10,912,831. There was a presentation at the PFC that included a change in the timeline. I will update that for our next presentation, and so we'll put that as a change and also some tentative for the new year or for the new month. Questions before I go into the investment report? Yes, ma'am.
2 questions. The fees, how we were negative 5%. Is this? I know you said hurricane related, but are we expecting an increase because of increased attendance, or we've moved those workshops to this part of the year, or what?
Early in the year is usually a slow start. Some of the workshops happen in the mid-year and also during the summer, and so that should catch up at the end of the year. We project it to be at 5% at the end of the year. Some of those workshops will probably have to be rescheduled for later on in the year. Yes.
Property values, I have heard murmurings that they are considering reevaluating some.
They've been evaluating, but right now it's holding up at $434 billion, which is more than what we estimated for the current year.
Okay, thanks.
In our investment report, again also posted on our website, we have a total of $35,624,861 in total funds, of which $10,912,831 is the PFC, and the rest is in the department funds. The majority is in Techstar, Lone Star Investment Pool, and TechSpool, and some at Chase Bank, so we can reduce our bank fees. Again, the PFC portfolio, $10,912,000. In terms of from a year ago, we are at $3.2 million or 10% higher in terms of our portfolio at the same time last year, December 31st. Everything is pretty much overnight, and we've been climbing the rates as those rates have been going up. We have earned $69,010 in interest earnings, and then the PFC $38,942 as well. We're earning 1.21. And that number is getting close to what we're earning or what we're paying on the PFC. So as we earn more than that, we'll have to set it aside so that we can rebate it to the IRS. So you can see that now we're in a 1.1, 1.25 environment, where a year ago we were in the 0.37 and 0.40 environment, which is almost a whole 1% more than in a year ago. Questions on the on the monthly report, rather?
Look like it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, board, if y'all have no objections and I get a consensus on this, I'd like to move 8A up for consideration now. And this is where we have our auditors. They're here. Hang on a second, I got to get approval first. Okay. This is where we have our auditors here. Since we just got through hearing Dr. Amesqua do the financial, I thought we could bring the auditors up now, and you guys have an opportunity to ask questions. Are you okay with us doing this? Consensus?
You don't need a motion.
I don't need a motion. I just want to make sure it's consensus, okay? All right, so then do I have a motion now on 8A?
So moved.
Do I have a second? I have a second. Okay, we now have a motion. We now have a second. We now can do 8A.
Okay.
All we're going to do now is we're going to have them present, and then we can ask questions, and then we can do the voting thing. Right? Yeah.
Okay. We have Ms. Selena Miller. She's a partner with Whitley Penn, who conducted the required annual external audit, and you have several documents in front of you You have the annual report, you have the special single audit report, and you have her presentation that she's going to review or give you some highlights regarding the results for fiscal year 17.
All right, good afternoon, President Evans, members of the board, and Mr. Colbert. I'm pleased to present the results of the fiscal year 2017 audit. I know you've had a lot of awards, and so I think the good news will continue as you hear my presentation. I have one of my team members here, and I like to say that she did all the heavy lifting, Laura Lynch. She's in the audience here with me as well, but we also had our senior and staff as well, Robert and David, on the engagement. The next few slides is to just go over some required communications. It's really discussing various auditing standards that we have to apply. But what I would like to focus on are the significant accounting policies that we do compare against industry standards, and we've noted that there aren't any deviations from what is best practices. As far as accounting estimates, you always have the allowance for uncollectible taxes. You have the useful life of capital assets that goes into the depreciation expense, and you have a new item, an allowance for uncollectible receivables from customers, which totaled $400,000. That is reflected in your financial statements this year, as management has combed through and determined what it's not that is not collectible, they're just being conservative and creating the allowance for that. The last large estimate is the net pension liability, and this is the third year that it's appeared on your financial statements. And I'll be very clear that it doesn't appear on your general fund financial statements, but instead in the government-wide financial statements, those financial statements that show everything that the department owns and everything that it owes. So the net pension liability, remember, is developed by actuaries and given to the Teacher Retirement System of Texas, and then those figures are proportionately shared by school districts and the department because you are a participant in this cost-sharing plan. I will say that next year you will see a new item for TRS Care, which is the other post-employment benefit portion that's also run through TRS. It is a cost-sharing plan, so you'll be assessed a percentage of that, and it will not go on your general fund, but will go on the government-wide financial statements. So you'll be hearing that more probably from your management team on those estimates. I know that the Teacher Retirement System is working on that. And all I can say, I don't know the number, all we know is it'll be probably as large as the net pension liability. And just to give you a little bit of background, school districts share proportionately along with other state agencies for the regular pension. For the TRS Care, you have state agencies and some colleges that do not participate in TRS Care. So a larger portion will be assumed by school districts, the local governments, for that. But that's going to be up to TRS to do those proportional share allocations and provide it to auditors and to local governments. We didn't have any difficulties with management or any difficulties in actually performing our duties. And I will say that we just don't deal with Dr. Amezcua and his department. We visit various departments, the Head Start program, adult education, the CASE program, purchasing, AP, payroll. We're visiting various people, and as much as we like to not be disruptive, we know that we are, so we thank your management for being so, and the members of your department for being so cooperative throughout the process. The last piece of evidence is the management representation letter, and that indicates that your management team has not withheld any information so that we can conduct a thorough and full audit. And so that's given to us at the last stages of the audit, and that's so that we can turn over our opinion letter. So that brings me to the entire audit process. We start in the summer with the risk assessment, and within the risk assessment, we're looking at your internal controls over these significant areas that I alluded to earlier. So accounts payable, HR, purchasing, information technology, your federal programs. identifying those key controls, testing those key controls. Once the department closes its books after August 31st, we come back and start the verification, corroboration, confirmation process and do what we call substantive work. And so it's either actually vouching, doing substantive analytics, inquiries, but we're actually looking at data and verifying the numbers that are presented within the comprehensive annual financial report. And all of that we do so that we can issue an audit opinion. That's the whole purpose of the audit, is to determine whether the users of the financial statement, whether it's the public, whether it's grantors, can rely on the financial statements and the numbers presented therein. So we have 3 types of opinions that we can issue as auditors. So as you move from green to red, they worsen. But the HCDE has received an unmodified opinion, which is the best type of clean, it's the clean opinion, the best type of opinion, and the highest level of assurance that any entity can receive. And I know that you all have received this many years, but it's not something that you should take for granted. And it is hard work and takes a lot of collaboration within your team to earn this. And like I said, we start in the middle of the summer. We start in the spring planning, but actually being on site, we're probably disrupted for about 5 to 6 weeks with the staff. As far as the single audit report, if you're ever interested, there's a lot of audit speak throughout the comprehensive annual financial report, but the single audit has 1 page that it's the smaller report that you have at your places that summarizes our audit results. And so you'll see the unmodified opinion, no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies over your financial statements, nor any non-compliance that we've noted. And this is in relation to federal compliance and state compliance as well. This year, through our risk assessment process and through our major program determination, we tested adult education and the child care mandatory and matching funds federal programs. We're required to issue an opinion, and we've also issued an unmodified opinion. We didn't identify any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, and again, no instances of non-compliance or question cost. Any questions before I go into the actual financials on the process?
I just wanted to ask you a question. We got the highest rating?
Yes, an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance that we can give on a set of financial statements.
Called something other than the highest rating, so I just wanted to make sure that
Yes.
everybody knew that it was the highest rating.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
So if we move over into your general funds, you'll see the green shaded portion of the pie chart is made up of property taxes, 47% or $21.8 million. As Dr. Amesqua had indicated for his December report, the values have increased, so the levy that's reported in the financial statements as of August 31st, 2017 was a little under $22 million. You have a 98% collection rate. So total property taxes that you've collected are $21.8 million. That includes any delinquent taxes, any penalties, and interest as well. The second largest portion of the pie is customer fees and charges at $20 million, or 43%. The rest is state and federal at $3 million and $1.4 million, respectively. Total revenues were $46.4 million, an increase of about $1.5 million from the previous year. If we go into the 2017, did I do my math right on that? Yes, I did. Okay. If we go into the 2017 general fund expenditures, you'll see that they increased slightly by $2 million. You'll see that the largest pieces of the pie are the red and blue at the bottom, which are your specialty school services, and then your school-based therapy services at $10.7 and $9.7 million, respectively. If we dissect and look to see what you had actually planned to receive in revenues, your revenues were short by $1.3 million. However, your expenditures came under budget by $6.3 million. You did transfer out $8.7 million, and that's primarily to the PFC. You had transfers in from the gains from the enterprise fund of $2.6 million being brought back into the general fund. You had a net decrease to fund balance of $2.8 million, and the ending fund balance is $28.1 million, which will start your fiscal year 2018 with these figures. And what I like to do as well is look at within this $28.1 million, there's about $17 million that's unassigned. That is what is available for appropriation. So if we just look at that piece, that's about 39% of your expenditures. And the recommended is to be at 25%. So you're well within the recommended percentages, and it allows you to reinvest into the department however you choose to do so. So overall, I know there was a question earlier about will we be in the paper, but there's no concern here because your unassigned fund balance is quite healthy in comparison to the annual expenditures. Once it starts going below 30 days, that's when you have a concern. When it goes below 10% or 12%, that's when you should start worrying, but you are well above the recommended, within the recommended range. Any questions for me? I'm sorry? Oh, I know. I think you all had plenty of questions at the audit committee.
Oh, yeah, we took care of you at the audit
Yes.
committee, yeah. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Okay, so we're going to vote on whether to accept this audit. So all in favor, please raise your hand. Keep hitting that thing. Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go back now to the action items consensus. Do I have a motion? Got a motion? Do I have a second? I get a second? Oh, okay. You have some reservations? I need reservations then. Let's go back. Nobody had said anything to me, so I was just moving right along. All right, you have reservations. Okay, what we got?
I have E2.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, so I need to revisit this motion and second then. So are we okay with doing the motion and second with reserving E2?
So moved.
You okay, you okay? All right. So all in favor of approving the action items consensus with the exception of E2, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. All right, we're going to go back and visit E2. Contract award for job number 18/013KJ for contracted services for instructional support services to the proposers offering a best value to HCDE. There's a list. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second? Okay, what questions do we have?
Someone gonna come up? I do have a question.
Who is the person? There's our.
No.
Looking at the scoring, and from what I can tell, did we accept all that were scored? From what I can.
All of these were accepted, yes.
No, that were actual scored, because I was trying
They
to
were
cross
actually
reference.
scored.
Okay, because I consider 70 a pretty low score.
That is the 70 or higher, so 70 is the minimum.
Okay, and then these vendors in this box says it listed below did not meet specifications. Does that mean their application was incomplete or their score was below 70?
Just various reasons. Their application might not have been completed, or they just didn't meet the requirements. They didn't have the score.
So they were not scored, all of them, or?
Well, everyone in this box was scored, and they did meet 70 or above.
Oh, okay, that's different. Okay,
We good?
those are my questions.
All right, yes, sir.
I noticed we have a law firm on here. Is that the only law firm we've got in this? that we've accepted?
Yeah, that was the only law firm. It's for training and special education law.
I mean, do we have other law firms already?
Not for the, this is not for looking for a board. Okay, okay.
So this was approved.
Well,
So what are you asking, Michael? I guess they're not sure.
We already approved other law firms.
do you have any other law firms?
I think this is,
Walsh Gallegos? Walsh Gallegos?
Is approved.
Well, that's this one. That's
No,
what I'm talking
if we already approved others for this same group before, or is this a new?
This is a contract award, so this is the first time.
All right.
Correct.
I'm thinking of Choice Partners, I think is what I'm thinking of. All right.
Okay, that would be different.
Any other questions? Okay. All in favor of number 2, the contract award number, please raise your hand. All opposed? All abstaining? Okay, so we, oh, so I got that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I got 4 voting for, 1 opposed, and 1 abstaining.
Did you actually get 4 votes?
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, she raised her hand. Didn't
Oh,
she?
okay, I didn't see, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You wanted to change your vote?
But I can count, you know. No, we're good, yeah, because I added up to 6, didn't I? Okay, here we got it. Okay?
Let's do, George and I need to change our votes, so it'll be 3-3.
Whatever you want to do, Mike.
I'm joking.
We're not
All right, so we are through the consensus. We're now going to go to the action item non-consensus. We've already visited 8A, so we will go to 8B. Consider first reading of policy BE local. Hi, Jimmy. You going to read that to us or tell us what it's all about?
Mr. President, this is the change that the board asked last week that we make to local policy BE in order to have the policy be consistent with the board's decision to meet on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. This is on page 482 of your agenda, and it simply changes the date from Tuesday to Wednesday. This is first reading. We'll do second reading next month, and then if it's the board's will, the board can adopt it second reading consistent with policy.
So we have no vote?
There's nothing to do.
Just
This
read
is
it
first
and tell
reading
us.
unless there's a question about.
Any questions for Mr. Jimmy?
keep
All
moving
right,
on.
thank
All
you.
right. All right, 8C, consider approval of the service agreement with Pioneer Schools of Health, RFP 18/015YR for the provision of certified nurse assistant instruction. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a second? Got a second by Dr. Troutman, motion by Mr. Dick. Do I have a discussion? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. We're going to look at 8D. Consider approval of a service agreement with their Providence Vocational, Inc., RFP 18/015YR for the provision of certified nurse assistant instructions. Well, it's the same thing, isn't it? Different company, okay.
No.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion? Do I have a
Second.
So I got a motion by Mr. Dick, second by Dr. Moore. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, 8E, consider approval of additional supplemental rate to the 2017-2018 supplemental salary schedule for teachers in the school division. This rate would be provided to certified teachers providing instruction to students requiring homebound services, and this would be paid by the client districts. Do I have a motion? Got a motion by Mr. Dick. Second by Dr. Troutman. Do I have any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. All right, consider approval, this is 8F, consider approval of interlocal agreement with Harris County Sheriff's Office for FY18 and FY19 for law enforcement services at the Academic and Behavior School East for 2 deputies. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Dick.
Second.
Got a second by Dr. Moore. Do I have any discussion? All in favor? Yes, ma'am.
Could the superintendent describe the use of these?
Mr. Parker, go ahead.
Yes, these are the security officers at all of our schools. And so we are moving away from using executive threat to the Harris County Sheriff's Department.
I'm still confused because I thought we voted. So we're changing them over like as the contract?
Correct. Correct. This is the entire new contract for the rest of this year and for next year.
And for Fortis, the deputies are going to come on.
This is including Fortis Academy.
They'll come on March when we open.
Okay.
Now, and I probably shouldn't do this, but the next agenda item is a ratification. And I talked to the board last month about that in executive session, that we're kind of out of sequence with the county and how they go about their process for amendments.
Mark, I think I saw your hand.
In the past, I think we've sometimes used constables' offices, or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, we were using executive threat who used, they may have used the constable's office as well as the sheriff's department.
But this is just straight with the sheriff's department. It's not going through any another third party.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
I notice it's for a total of 4 deputies. Is that correct or no? I think we have we don't have all of the schools in bold, so that's 2 at AB East, 1 at AB West, so that's 3.
Looks like 7 what you have on the
Correct.
list.
Okay, that's all I have.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. All right, I don't like this thing. I'm gonna put it over here. All right, motion passes 6-0. And as our superintendent so aptly pointed, this is gonna be kind of a ratification. Consider ratification of an amendment number 1, the interlocal agreement between HCDE and the Harris County Sheriff's Office to increase the amount from $67,000 to $108,000. This is an increase of $41,000. And this goes from 1/6/17 through 2/28/18. Okay? I know, we got all kind of questions. All right. Do I have any?
A motion.
Motion first.
So moved.
Okay, got a second?
Second.
Got a motion, got a second. Now do we have discussion?
We're good.
Well, why don't you tell us why you're doing it, so. You're dying to speak, I can see it.
Mr. Parker.
There you go.
Pawn it off.
This item is really just for 2 months. The item that you just approved will be for March moving forward. So when we presented this to you in November, we did not have the traffic officer at AB East included. And so this item is really covering the traffic officer that we need at AB East for the next 2 months.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, the way I understood it is that Harris County will not do an amendment to a contract. They actually make you go back and do a whole new contract. So our problem is our services will allow us amendment, Harris County does not. So this is why we're having to do a retroactive thing because of what Harris County does. Is this correct?
Yeah.
Does that help everybody better?
Oh, that's what you said last time.
Yeah.
And essentially, the way we go about amendments is different than how the
Yeah.
county does it. They wanted us to redo the whole thing, so it put us out of sequence.
Okay, any other questions?
Got a question. The way that you just described that, I would have thought that the person you're talking about for 2 months is $41,000? Or can you explain that differently?
Actually, that person is going to cost for 2 months, I believe, $12,000.
So that one person should be about 10,000 is what it should cost for 2 months. It's about 5,000 per month.
Then why is it going up by $41,000 for a 2-month change?
Because that's including all of the officers at each of the campuses. And so it's not just
All right.
accounting for that one traffic officer, additional traffic
Okay.
officer that we had to add, it's the other officers as well.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. All right, we're gonna look at H, consider acceptance of the notice of award from the Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families for the Area 1 Head Start Division in amount of $6,124,081 for 1/1/18 through 12/31 of 18. By Dr. Troutman. Got a second by Mr. Dick. Any discussion? Why wasn't it brought up in December?
Yeah.
I could read your mind. Why was this not brought up in December?
That's a question.
It's coming. I'm sure I can see she has an answer ready for us.
It was not received in time for the board agenda deadline.
It should also be noted that December is a very awkward month for us in having board meetings because of the 2 weeks that are off. So I think there was like 2 weeks to get new items on the December, from the November board meeting to the December one, which extremely difficult to do, and it doesn't always fall in sync.
And it was literally received while we were out, almost just before we went out. Just before we went out.
So it was after the board meeting?
Sir?
It was after our board meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. We just know that we don't like being surprised.
She knows that.
All right, any other questions? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Consider approval of renewal option for job number 17/014YR -2 for lease of a Baytown Head Start facility for HCDE with the following vendor: H.W. Pruitt, Texas, LLC, for the period of 2/1/18 through 7/31 of 19. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Dr. Moore. Got a second by Dr. Troutman. Do I have any discussion?
Is this the one where we don't have other options? Yes. Okay. Because I'm always looking at this like, this looks.
It's the month-to-month lease that we're
Yeah.
in until we, our new facility is ready.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, any other further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Consider approval to purchase produce and other specialty grocery items from Labatt Food Service Choice Partners, job number 16/029TJ, in the amount not to exceed $450,000, and Brothers Produce Choice Partners 15/022TJ, in the amount not to exceed $150,000, and Milk Products LLC Choice Partners, job number 12/037SC, in the amount not to exceed $150,000 for the HCDE Head Start Division. Okay, do I have a motion? Got a motion by Mr. Dick, and you said second? Got a second by Mr. Wolf. Do I have any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, so now, under executive session, we're going to executive session under the Texas Government Code pursuant to any and all purposes permitted by sections 551.001 through 551.084, including but not limited to 551.071, 551.071, and 54 and 551.082. It is now 2:40, and we're in executive. And we're going to I guess we're gonna vote on the, for 10A? Okay, so do I have a motion on 10A?
So moved.
Okay, I got a motion by Mr. Dick. Any seconds? Got a second by Erica Lee Carter. Do I have any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Is the new teacher with us? Are they working right now? Well, they will be after this. Okay. Okay. All right. So do I need to then get us out of this board meeting and reconvene the next, or what? Just stay where we are. Okay, now this one is going to be, needs to be in closed session, is this correct? This needs to be a closed session? Is he, where's Mr. Hightower? I take a recess. All right. Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess. So it's now 3:08, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. Road, okay? All right, 3:15, we're gonna call this hearing to order. We're gonna do the agenda item number 11, which is conduct a hearing in accordance with policy DGBA regarding a complaint filed by a former assistant principal. And I'm going to turn this hearing over to our hearing officer, Mr. Hightower.
As the President said, this meeting of the Harris County Department of Education Board of Trustees is convened on January 24, 2018. For the record, my name is Richard Hightower. I'm an attorney who will be representing the HCDE Board of Trustees in today's hearing. I will also be the presiding officer of the grievance hearing today. The following members of the Board of Trustees are present. If those here will identify themselves. Start with Mr. Wolf, and we run this way.
Michael Wolf.
Eric Dick.
I'm Lewis Evans.
Erica Lee Carter, position 6, precinct 1.
Diane Troutman.
George Moore.
For the record, a quorum is present. The item on the agenda is the Level 3 grievance hearing of Malcolm Greer. The board will hear and consider the Level 3 grievance of Mr. Greer today. The first matter is to consider whether this meeting will be conducted in public open session or closed session. The complaint involves a complaint or charge against an HCDE employee. Consequently, under Texas Government Code Section 551.082, the meeting will be held in closed session unless the employee whom the complaint is brought against requests the complaint be heard in open session. Because the HCD employee against whom the complaint has been brought has not made a written request that this hearing be conducted in open session, the hearing will be held in closed session. In accordance with the board will now conduct a closed meeting to consider the grievance of Mr. Greer under the authority of Texas Government Code Section 551.082 and also with me present 551.071, the attorney-client. Everyone not associated with this hearing should now leave the room. No final vote or decision will be made without the reconvening of this meeting in open session or at a duly noticed future meeting. We are adjourning to closed session. The date is January 24, 2018, and the time is 3:15 p.m. Okay. All right, we are reconvening in open session. This is Richard Hightower. The closed meeting deliberation has concluded, and the board is now reconvening in open session. The time is 4:35. The HCD Board of Trustees is now reconvened in open session. No action was taken in closed session. And at this time, I'm going to turn the motion and voting part of this process back over to Board President Lewis Evans.
All right, do I have a motion concerning this matter?
Yes, sir, I'd like to make a motion.
All right, sir.
I move that the grievance be denied, but we direct that the administration review the recruitment, hiring, and personnel procedures to clarify the process.
Do I have a second? Second by Dr. Troutman. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. Motion is unanimous.
All right. For the, this is Richard Hightower, so for purposes of the record, this announcement of the board's decision is made in the presence of the grievant, Mr. Greer, and it's my understanding that Mr. Brim had to get on the road to head back and is not here. Is that correct, Mr. Greer?
Correct.
Okay. With that, then this matter is concluded. Thank you.
It's now 4:37. We're adjourned for now. Our recess, there you go. It is now 4:40, and I'm going to turn this hearing over to Mr. Hightower.
All right. This meeting of the Harris County Department of Education Board of Trustees is convened on January 24th, 2018. For the record, my name's Richard Hightower, and I'm an attorney who will be representing the HCDE Board of Trustees in today's hearing. I will also be the presiding officer of the grievance hearing today. The following board members are present. Board President Lewis Evans, Board Vice President Eric Dick, Trustee Erica Lee Carter, Trustee Dr. Diane Troutman, and Trustee Michael Wolf. With 5 here, for the record, there is a quorum present. The next item on the agenda, as called by Mr. Evans, is the Level 3 grievance hearing of Richard Smiley. The board will hear and consider the Level 3 grievance now of Mr. Smiley today. Mr. Smiley, you're here? Okay. So at this time, the first matter to consider is whether this meeting will be conducted in public open session or closed session. This complaint involves a personnel matter. Consequently, under Texas Government Code Section 551.074, the meeting will be held in closed session unless the grieving employee makes a written request for an open hearing. On Mr. Smiley's Level 3 grievance form, he indicated that he desired the hearing before the Board of Trustees to be conducted in open session. Mr. Smiley, is it still your desire for the board to conduct your Level 3 hearing in open session? Yes. Okay. Pursuant to Mr. Smiley's request, the board will remain in open session. However, if at any time Mr. Smiley brings a complaint or charge directly against an HCD employee, the board can assess whether to conduct that portion of the hearing in closed session in accordance with Section 551.082 of the Texas Open Meetings Act. In accordance with applicable law, HCDE is making a record of this hearing, including an audible electronic recording of all oral testimony and/or argument. In order to make the most accurate record possible, each speaker must clearly identify him or herself before speaking. Please avoid talking while others are speaking so that the record will reflect the proceedings accurately. Mr. Smiley, I understand you're representing yourself at the hearing today?
That is correct.
All right. Would the representatives for the administration please identify themselves?
Good afternoon. I'm Sarah Langlois. I'm a partner at Rogers, Morris & Grover here in Houston, and I am representing the HCDE administration along with HCDE Superintendent James Colbert.
For the record, the board has received copies of the record of Mr. Smiley's grievance, including the Level 1 and Level 2 records. Including in the record are copies of Mr. Smiley's written complaint forms, the documents presented at the previous levels, and the written responses at the previous levels. These documents will be considered part of the record of this Level 3 hearing. These same documents have been distributed to Mr. Smiley as well as to Ms. Langlois, the HCD administration, and the Board of Trustees. Pursuant to HCDE Board Policy DGBA Local, as Board President and Presiding Officer, Board President Evans informed Mr. Smiley and Ms. Langlois of the guidelines for today's hearing. The December 15, 2017 notice to Mr. Smiley and Ms. Langlois is included in the packet provided to the Board. Just a little background about this grievance from the prior levels. On October 2nd, 2017, Richard Smiley, a former HCDE facilities technician, filed a grievance stemming from a sexual harassment complaint that had been lodged against Mr. Smiley. Mr. Smiley contends that the accusations are unfounded and uncharacteristic. HCDE's Human Resources Division received a complaint filed by a female HCD employee alleging that Mr. Smiley sexually harassed her on September the 22nd, 2017. The incident that triggered the complaint occurred on September 22nd, 2017, and involved the complainant removing a splinter from Mr. Smiley's finger. I believe the actual complaint was filed on September 26, 2017. The complainant alleged that Mr. Smiley made sexually suggestive remarks and actions. Mr. Smiley denies committing this conduct. Pursuant to HCDE Policy DIA Local, which is in the record, an investigation of the complaint was conducted. Natasha Truitt, Executive Director of Human Resources, served as the investigator of the sexual harassment claim. A redacted copy of Ms. Truitt's investigation summary report is in the record at tab 2C. As a part of her investigation of the complaint against Mr. Smiley, Ms. Truitt interviewed 13 individuals, including the complainant and Mr. Smiley. Ms. Truitt concluded that the behavior demonstrated by Mr. Smiley is not in alignment with the level of professionalism expected for all HCDE employees. Mr. Smiley has made comments and acted in a manner that has made numerous employees feel uncomfortable. There were a number of similarities expressed by staff interviewed. These employees work at different locations and are not familiar with one another. Ms. Truitt stated, "I believe Mr. Smiley acted unprofessionally." Based on her investigation, Ms. Truitt recommended that Mr. Smiley's employment be terminated. Superintendent Colbert terminated Mr. Smiley's employment effective October the 5th, 2017, as shown in the record at tab 2B. At level 1, Mr. Smiley requested relief, including having the alleged accusation removed from his file, and that the person who brought it be admonished for their role in falsely accusing him. Mr. Smiley's complaint was heard at level 1 by Mr. Gregory Lookabaugh, Executive Director of Facilities. Mr. Lookabaugh found Mr. Smiley's complaint that he had been falsely accused to not be adequately supported by the facts. Mr. Lookabaugh found that based on his review of the level 1 complaint and the investigation conducted by HR, that Mr. Smiley's behavior was unprofessional. Mr. Lookabaugh further found that the employee making the complaint should not be admonished as requested by Mr. Smiley because there was no evidence to suggest that the employee intentionally made a false claim against Mr. Smiley, but rather availed herself of the opportunity to make a report as outlined in Board Policy DIA. Regarding Mr. Smiley's requested relief of having the sexual harassment complaint removed from his file, Mr. Lookabaugh found that the complaint and the notes related to the complaint are not included in Mr. Smiley's personal file. Mr. Smiley appealed to level 2. Mr. Smiley's complaint was heard at level 2 by Ms. Helen Spencer, Chief Information Officer. Ms. Spencer also found that Mr. Smiley's complaints were not supported by the facts and that his requested remedies were unjustified. At level 2, Mr. Smiley requested the following remedies: to have this alleged accusation removed from my file, that the person that falsely accused me receive help or some training, that he be reinstated, and any back pay accumulated during the course of my termination be retro upon reinstatement. Ms. Spencer found that the version of facts presented by Mr. Smiley do not invalidate the original sexual harassment complaint, as the complaint is supported by interviews of other staff and is consistent with a pattern of unprofessional behavior. Ms. Spencer found that Mr. Smiley's requested remedies were not justified by the facts submitted, but noted that the complaint accusations are not included in Mr. Smiley's personnel file. Mr. Smiley has appealed Ms. Spencer's Level 2 decision to Level 3, the board. I will now ask each member of this board whether he or she is able to serve as an impartial member of the board and hearing body and to arrive at a decision based solely upon evidence presented at this hearing in consideration of Mr. Smiley's grievance today. Any member not able to act in such a manner may say so and ask to be excused from further participation. Board members, please indicate by stating yes or no whether you are able to serve as an impartial member. President Lewis Evans?
Yes.
Vice President Eric Dick?
Yes.
Trustee Erica Lee Carter?
Yes.
Trustee Dr. Diane Troutman?
Yes.
Trustee Michael Wolf?
Yes.
The procedure today will be to allow Mr. Smiley and the HCD administration to make a presentation. This will not be an evidentiary hearing, and there will be no cross-examination of witnesses. This is not a trial, and no formal rules of evidence or procedure will apply. Mr. Smiley will make his presentation first, followed by the administration. The presentation will be conducted as follows. Each side will have 15 minutes to make their presentations. Mr. Smiley will make a presentation to the board first, then the administration will make its presentation. Then each side will have 5 minutes for rebuttal or final argument. The board members will then ask any questions of the parties. Are there any questions before we begin? All right, I will serve as the timekeeper based on this clock to my right. When your time expires, you must stop your presentation. Mr. Smiley, you may proceed with your presentation, and again, just for the record, identify yourself before speaking. And I've got roughly 5. Floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm Richard Smiley, former HCD employee, Technician 3. First of all, I'd like to thank you, board members, for hearing my grievance. If I could, does everybody have the same thing that I have?
Each have a copy of the record that you have.
Everybody's blacked out like mine as well.
Everybody's is redacted, yes.
If the board could take a look at page 3.5. Section C, 3.5. 6th paragraph, timely reporting.
So C, page 3 of 5, that's what you're...
Yes, please.
Okay. Under timely reporting?
Yes.
Okay. Is everybody there?
Just keep that in mind. Also, page 4.5, C 4.5.
Would be the next page, page 4 of 5.
Department action. You keep that in mind.
All right.
If I could, I would like to expound on these accusations that has been set forth by these by the people who made these alleged accusations to me. If I could.
Okay.
On page 3, section under investigation documents, page 3.
That would be 2C,
Is that
which
2C?
is
I don't have a 2.
investigation summary report. Is that what you're talking about, Mr. Smiley?
Yes.
What page of 2C are you directing the board to?
Page 2, if I could.
Page 2, and that's the investigation summary report.
Yes.
Okay.
You can go down to paragraph 2 that says that some photos were taken by me, alleged photos were taken by me with phone. A second paragraph. Can everybody see that? Where are the photos? They're so detailed in this thing. I'd like to know. The phone was confiscated like immediately, almost immediately from me. And they're so accurate, allegedly accurate on their descriptions of things that happened. I'd like to know where those photos that I supposedly have taken of this person. And also, if you can look at, go down to the last paragraph. It states that she couldn't recall the date, any date of this making her feel uncomfortable. She can't recall all of a sudden a date. And also, if you flip over to the next page, that'll be page 3. Just to be clear, I never told anyone they're very, very, very pretty or beautiful. I went to several centers today. I don't even know how many. It's just in past. And I have said, good morning, you look nice today, and keep it moving. I have said, good morning, you look nice today. You look very professional today. I have said these things. But to stick a sexual connotation to it is really beneath them. It wasn't taken in that manner. It wasn't given in that manner. I don't know why it would be received in that manner. And no one ever at that time told me, oh, that comment made me feel uncomfortable. I wasn't called in the office at any time about any of that. Also, this is a lot. This person alleges that I'm disgusting. She alleges that I'm disgusting. Yet, at the pleading, of course, she said at the pleading of her coworkers, she agreed to help me remove a splinter from my thumb. I don't think, from my point of view, or I don't think from anyone's point of view, if I find someone disgusting, there will be nothing anybody can say to make me go and put myself in the vicinity of them if I find them disgusting. Also, there's a statement here. This person was in the area when this happened. This so-called happened. Page 3, we're on page 3. 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs down. This person, they blotted out the name. I don't know who it is, but I appreciate them not buckling under the pressure of their job. They were in the area at the same time. It's a very small area. They state they did not see me do this alleged act whatsoever, and no pictures were taken. They allege that they tell you that there was no, and I've never made them feel uncomfortable. This is the same person in the same area, same facility. I don't know why she would think while I'm in pain that I would be thinking about some sexual act. I have no idea why that person would think that. And she went on to, she misrepresented herself. She said she was an EMT when I had this splinter in my hand. She said, I'm an EMT. I asked for tweezers. No one had any tweezers. She went and got a push pin to remove the splinter from my hand. So yes, I was in pain. I did wince. Yes, I did. But I never said any kind of thing that was derogatory or unclear or any kind of ambiguous language to where make her think that I was thinking about anything sexual toward this person. Also, she alleged that I was down by her vaginal area by the sink. As I explained, that was not even the sink that I was working on. That sink was not even broken. There was no reason for me to be by her vaginal area. In a room full of people, it's illogical. Illogical for her to think in a room full of people that I'm gonna go by her vaginal area. The phone has pictures of the sink that I was actually working on. They didn't surface whatsoever. Also, this person said way back in September that I allegedly tried to grope her, and I bent down and touched her a little. That's a sexual assault. But yet, that wasn't brought up. I would have been terminated right on the spot if that happened. On the spot. That never happened. Also, this person said that she's been watching, when she first met me, she's been watching me. How nice she put it. She has been observing me since day one. Why, I don't know. But apparently, I only see people from the chest down, according to her alleged statement. How can I tell her she's pretty if I don't ever see her face? She's running into a lot of lies. Also, these statements, as you read, they just come out of nowhere. I'd also like to flip, if you could, and make sense of page 7. Page 7, paragraph 2. I know this person. Let me make sure this statement is clear to you guys. We were having lunch. She did come in on how she was overweight. My comment to her was exactly this. Don't worry about your weight. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just fine. That was my comment to this person. She works directly under another person, which you guys probably know who that is. I'm not going to mention any names. She also alleges that I said I would like to see her in a thong bikini. Not if I want to keep my lunch down. She said she was talking about a fishing trip. I'm city. I do not fish. I couldn't tell you a guppy from a manta ray, or if that is a fish. I don't fish. There's no reason we talk about fishing, and then out of nowhere I say something about bikini. And I want to address this huge woman incident thing that they keep saying that I like big women, clinically obese women. At no point at any time have I said that I like a big woman at any time.
You've got 1 minute left, Mr. Smiley.
It seems that these is just a lot of perception and mistaken answers, mistaken compliments, mistaken uplifting. That was a convention that we had not too long back. If that's the case, a lot of employees never seen me outside of my uniform. When they saw me, and these are counter employees, female employees, say that, "Oh, you clean up nicely. You look nice." I don't take that as a act of sexual aggression. I'm just appalled of that they would think, and in a timely manner. This is 2016 that these things have been accumulating, but no one has brought them to my attention. If you can go back to the timely matter and the reporting, no one brought this to my attention. If all these things happen over a course of, this is 2018 now, over that course, but now all of a sudden it's in its book out of nowhere. Thank you.
Ms. Langlois, the administration has 15 minutes for its response.
Thank you. I'm honored to represent the HCDE administration today and to request that the board deny Mr. Smiley's grievance and support the administration's decision at level 2. Mr. Smiley alleges that the complaint lodged against him by a female HCDE employee and the accusations against him are unfounded. However, the investigation of the complaint filed against Mr. Smiley revealed that Mr. Smiley regularly engaged in inappropriate, unprofessional conduct toward female HCDE employees. As a result of his unprofessional conduct, his at-will employment with HCDE was terminated. Pursuant to Board Policy DIA Local, which is at tab 1C, an employee who believes that he or she has experienced prohibited conduct or believes that another employee has experienced prohibited conduct should immediately report the alleged acts. That's exactly what occurred here when the final straw was finally hit. In accordance with board policy, a female HCDE Head Start employee made a report of alleged sexual harassment against Mr. Smiley to HCDE's HR division on September 25th, 2017, days after the final straw incident between her and Mr. Smiley, not a year later as he submits. Pursuant to Board Policy DIA Local, an investigation of the complaint occurred. Natasha Truitt, Executive Director of Human Resources, served as the investigator. Importantly, not only did Ms. Truitt interview the complainant and the accused, Mr. Smiley, she also interviewed 11 additional HCDE employees concerning their interactions with Mr. Smiley. This is not a he said, she said, one-time incident. In addition to the complainant, 7 other individuals, 6 women and 1 man, reported being personally subjected to inappropriate, uncomfortable comments about their physical appearance from Mr. Smiley or observing others being subjected to this behavior. These 8 HCDE employees work across 4 different divisions: Head Start, Facilities, Human Resources, and Business Services. Again, this is not an isolated incident. For example, 7 women reported that Mr. Smiley told them that they were beautiful or very pretty and looked at them in a sexual manner. 2 of those women, who work in different locations in different divisions, both reported that Mr. Smiley told them that he liked, quote, big women. Similarly, 2 women, again, both of whom who work in different locations in different divisions, both reported that Mr. Smiley licked his lips in a sexual manner while staring at them uncomfortably. 3 women who work in 3 different divisions all reported that Mr. Smiley would stare at them in a sexual manner. According to the complainant, she had several uncomfortable interactions with Mr. Smiley, ultimately culminating in her stepping forward and making a complaint. In the first incident, the complainant said Mr. Smiley walked up to her and told her that she was very pretty. Although at first she said she took it as a compliment, he kept repeating to her, "You are very, very pretty," and had what she described to be a disgusting look on his face. According to the complainant, she didn't say anything at the time because Mr. Smiley worked in facilities and she didn't think she would see him again. However, on September 22nd, 2017, the complainant was asked by a coworker to remove a splinter from his hand. While she was removing the splinter from Mr. Smiley's hand, the complainant said Mr. Smiley was moaning and making sexually suggestive comments. The complainant also reported that while Mr. Smiley was purportedly attempting to fix a sink, she believes he purposefully bent down in front of her, close to her private area, and attempted to take a picture of her. She did not say that he actually took a picture of her, but that he tried to take a picture of her, and he admitted moments ago that he did in fact have his phone out. Another female employee reported that she observed that Mr. Smiley looked at female employees from the breast down and oozed at female employees. Something the employee reported was, quote, not appropriate for the work environment, end quote, but rather behavior more fitting at a club. Yet another employee in a different division and assigned to a different location from the complainant reported that Mr. Smiley made her feel uncomfortable by telling her that she was beautiful and staring at her from head to toe in a sexual manner. Yet another female employee reported experiencing several uncomfortable encounters with Mr. Smiley, including one occasion where Mr. Smiley told her that she filled out her jeans well, another occasion where Mr. Smiley told her he would like to see her in a thong bikini, yet another occasion where Mr. Smiley told her that she was a white woman stuck in a black woman's body while staring at her backside. According to this employee, she is very much uncomfortable around Mr. Smiley, and he gives her the creeps, a word that was used to describe Mr. Smiley by 3 separate female employees. As you might imagine, based on this very brief summary of the reports made by individuals interviewed in connection with the complaint, Ms. Truitt's investigation revealed that the allegation made by the complainant was, unfortunately, not an isolated incident. Rather, the investigation revealed that Mr. Smiley engaged in a pattern of inappropriate, unprofessional behavior that numerous employees described as uncomfortable, inappropriate, weird, and creepy. Ms. Truitt's investigation report, included at tab 2C, specifically on page 7, states, quote, after conducting a thorough investigation and speaking with numerous employees, I believe that the behavior demonstrated by Mr. Smiley is not in alignment with the level of professionalism expected of all HCDE employees, end quote. Ms. Truitt found that Mr. Smiley had made comments and acted in a manner that had made numerous employees feel uncomfortable. There were a number of similarities expressed by staff interviewed. These employees work at different locations and are not familiar with one another. I believe Mr. Smiley has acted unprofessionally, end quote. Based on her findings, Ms. Truitt found it was in the best interest of HCDE to recommend that Mr. Smiley's employment be terminated. Board policy, DIA local, states, quote, if the results of an investigation indicate that prohibited conduct occurred, the department shall promptly respond by taking appropriate disciplinary or corrective action reasonably calculated to address the conduct, end quote. In accordance with policy DIA, Superintendent Colbert took that appropriate disciplinary action, and with the authority granted to him under policy DCD local to terminate at-will employees, he terminated Mr. Smiley's at-will employment with HCDE for cause effective October 5th, 2017, as reflected in the notice of termination at tab 2B. Mr. Smiley wants this board to disregard Ms. Truitt's thorough investigation and the reports made by not 1, not 2, but 10 different employees that he acted inappropriately and unprofessionally and reinstate his employment with HCDE with back pay. He also wants you to direct the complainant to receive help or some training so it doesn't happen to someone else. If what Mr. Smiley wants the board to focus on is ensuring that it doesn't happen to someone else, the it is ensuring that not one more individual is subjected to his inappropriate comments and conduct while working at the department. I submit that the complainant should not be forced to have training for her act of making a complaint, but rather be applauded for being brave enough to step up and make the complaint against Mr. Smiley. We only wish, on behalf of the administration, that someone would have been brave enough to inform HR or an individual in a position of authority about Mr. Smiley's conduct previously. Even after the investigation was concluded and Mr. Smiley's employment was terminated, more individuals came forward with very similar stories to those reported by the individuals interviewed. Reinstating Mr. Smiley's employment with HCDE would most certainly jeopardize the work environment of numerous current HCDE employees, especially women employees. His conduct is not a remediable offense. Making people feel uncomfortable at work is not acceptable. He would have you believe his word over the word of 10 other employees, including 3 male employees who reported seeing or hearing his inappropriate conduct. I will also stress that not only would reinstating Mr. Smiley's employment with HCDE jeopardize the work environment of HCDE employees, but it also could submit HCDE to consequences under the law. Such consequences may include a finding by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the Texas Workforce Commission, the Office of Civil Rights, or other administrative agency or court of law that HCDE knew of Mr. Smiley's behavior and its effect on employees, but failed to take prompt remediable action to address it. This finding could likely expose HCDE to liability for enabling a hostile work environment in violation of Title VII and other anti-discrimination laws, should you agree with him and reinstate his employment. It is the strong opinion of the HCDE administration that it was, and still is, in the best interest of the department as a whole to terminate Mr. Smiley's employment with HCDE. For this reason, we respectfully request that the board deny Mr. Smiley's grievance in full. Thank you.
Smiley, you've got 5 minutes to respond. It's 5:15. 5 minutes.
I just would like to say that since someone came forward and actually spoke up against this employee making this a harassment, they went on a witch hunt and got people to buckle at their discretion to say, you know, I just said this or I said that, and took my words and tried to twist them around. But like I say, there are many people. I went to many facilities, and I speak every time I go. So that's why there's, you know, this person said, this person that said. But they failed to mention that I told them that, they said I'm licking my lips, I'm on medication. I told them that, they purposely left that out. Orphenadrine citrate, if you want to look it up, and it makes my mouth dry, or I do lick my lips. And besides it being a natural body function, it's a little more reoccurring than most. And I don't know why they would be looking me in my face while I'm doing that, but tell you who I am. This person that they tried to make me out to be, I'm not. I'm a father, a grandfather, a hard worker. I've worked all my life. I've never been to prison, drugs, or anything like that. I take my job very seriously. He cannot tell you at one time that I've not did my job when I'm here, or that I was goofing off. This is a lot of evidence to consider. But I can tell you, it is not the perception that they have made it to be. Most definitely not the perception they have made it to be. That's all I have to say.
All right. Ms. Langlois, Mr. Colbert, y'all have 5 minutes to
Yes, sir.
respond.
James Colbert, Superintendent with Harris County Department of Ed. Very disturbing situation, and you know, ironically timely with many of the events that are happening in our society today. As Superintendent of Harris County Department of Education, it's my job and duty to ensure that we have a safe environment for every single employee to work in. I find it very audacious and disrespectful of Mr. Smiley to try to determine what other people's comfort level is. A number of times during this testimony, he tries to describe whether women felt comfortable or not. He's not in a position to determine their comfort level or to describe that. With the long list of accusations that have been made against him, which are completely unprofessional and unbecoming of any employee with HCDE, we have an obligation to take those things very seriously and to act swiftly with them. I'm only fortunate that I have an excellent HR director and department and attorney in representation that have been able to scale down to get to the very bottom of it. And what we uncovered was something way bigger than what the initial complaint was. At no time were we aware that there were so many people who were made to feel uncomfortable by Mr. Smiley's presence. Had I ever known that, he would have been dealt with earlier, and perhaps we would have been at this point a year or two ago. It's unfortunate that I found out that one of our former employees who was a supervisor did know about some of the issues and removed him and relocated him to another campus, which I would have never have approved. I would have acted on the incidents when they happened then. I find his conduct completely unprofessional, unbecoming of an HCD employee. I feel for the victims of our organization because that's not the creed that we operate by. That's certainly not the one that y'all articulate from where you sit. We don't want to ever be known as a facility where people can be harassed and made to feel like that they're the people who need training because they felt like someone got down under a sink and tried to take a picture of their private parts. Whether you took the picture or not, you have people who feel uncomfortable with your presence, and it's ridiculous. I'm disappointed that we even got to this point and got to this meeting because it's uncalled for. But, you know, I'm sitting here and listening to Mr. Smiley's testimony, and I'm going to try to be professional, but it sounds disgusting to me. While he sits here and tries to justify his actions and how everybody is perceiving it wrong, he has not accepted accountability for anything that he's done or how he's made people feel. That's not a person I want working for our organization, where we've got to put you in some private, isolated area so you don't interact with people because you make them feel uncomfortable. Absolutely not. And anybody else that I find out that is involved in this type of behavior with any of our employees, you know, we will look at that, we'll take it seriously, but ultimately, you know, we're not going to have people work for our organizations, at least I'm not going to approve that, who go around making women or any person, kids, women, custodians, administrators, it does not matter. They're not going to work for this organization. So I ask that you deny Mr. Smiley's grievance, uphold the administration's decision, and support administration and the employees of Harris County Department of Ed.
Thank you. Does any member of the board have any questions for the parties? If so, I'd like you to keep your questions to those matters which are brought forward to you during the presentation or are contained in the record. And if you have a question, please identify yourself for the record before speaking. Do any board members have any questions? Ms. Lee Carter.
Erica Lee Carter, and you can say whether this question is in the record, because that part always confuses me. I heard Mr. Smiley, and actually I heard Mr. Colbert reference prior times, but I just want to ask, until this incident, nothing else was in his employment record regarding anything similar or?
It's my understanding that after looking into this, I wanted to know how do we get to this point where there's so many complaints and I've never heard about it. It was my understanding that our previous facilities director had been aware that he was making people feel uncomfortable at one of our facilities, so he was reassigned. But there was never any documentation, no directive, no reprimand, which is also an issue that's below the standard of professionalism or expectations for our administrators. That supervisor no longer works at HCDE.
Michael Wolf, are you referring to Les Hooper?
No, sir, I'm not.
I guess my question for Mr. Smiley is, how long have you been employed by HCDE?
About a year.
Okay. Thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions? Okay, with that, that'll conclude the board questions. So now that the board has heard the grievances and absent any objection, the board will deliberate about the grievances in private and obtain legal advice before it decides what action to take, if any. No action will be taken in private. Throughout the decision-making process, the board shall consider only the information contained in the record of the previous levels and the presented during this grievance proceeding. The time is now 5:25. We're going off the record into private deliberations under section 551.074 and section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, which will not be on the record. So the board will now excuse itself. Okay, we are back on into open session. It's 5:34. The closed meeting deliberation has concluded. The board is now reconvened into open session. No action was taken in closed session, and at this time, for purposes of the voting part of the grievance hearing, I'm going to turn the presiding officer responsibilities back to President Evans.
This is Lewis Evans, and I will ask for a motion, and I'm going to give the motion. So I move that the board deny the grievance and uphold the decision of the administration at level 2. Do I have a second?
Second, Erica Lee Carter.
Do I have a second by Trustee Carter? Do I have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, please raise your hand if you agree. Motion is unanimous. It's 5-0.
Is it time to adjourn, or is there anything else on the schedule?
Well, for me, I have one more thing to do.
Okay.
Do I have another motion?
Motion to.
Okay, a motion to adjourn, and do you second?
Yes, I
I got a motion, I got a second, all agree, please raise your hand. We're adjourned. Okay, it is now 5:35, and we are out of session.